So as we all know today, we all have joined here for today's discussion on today's topic, Reimagining Higher Education, the NEP 2020 perspective. The NEP 2020 is the third major revamp of the field of education in India. Since independence, so briefly, NEP 2020, what we are trying to do is moving more or less from a British education system to more or less an American education system. You might understand this with a simple example that board has given priority and higher weightage in British system, however less weightage has been given in American system, and the same has become a part of our education system. So very soon we have the first guest.
She is joining. Sorry. Joining. Joining.
And gradual phasing out of entrance exam, moving out from MPhil PhD to only PhD, giving more emphasis on scoring subjects, so on and forth. To give more highlight on this topic, we have on this platform. So today, due to this COVID and all, as Sir has said, many of our guests are going to join us virtually. So our first speaker would be Dr. Rajashree Pradhan. Dr. Rajashree Pradhan is a senior lecturer in planning management from DIPT SCERT New Delhi. Dr. Rajashree has more than 30 years of experience in teaching, training, and research. She has vast experience of working in different national level institutes such as NCERT, NUEPA, Regional Institute of Education, Bhubaneswar, and NIOS. So she will be joining soon.
हेलो सर, हाँ ऑलरेडी आई ज्वाइन। हाँ जी ज्वाइन कर लिया मैंने।
So she is here with us today, Dr. Rajashree Pradhan. Welcome you, ma'am. Can you hear us?
नमस्कार।
Hello. Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes. Am I audible?
Can't hear you, ma'am. Maybe you are on mute.
Good morning. नमस्कार मैडम।
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You can go.
Hello. Am I audible, sir? Hello.
Yes, ma'am. We can hear you.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you, madam.
Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Let's welcome her with a big round of applause. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us here today. We are really waiting to hear,
Hello.
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Yeah. Thank you. Should I start now, ma'am?
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
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 Yes, ma'am.
You are audible. Yeah, ma'am.
Ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes, madam.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. We can start, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I can start now.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
You can start.
Okay. Good morning to all of you. Namaskar, sabko. All the respected dignitaries and my loving students. It is a great privilege for me to be here to put forth my views on reimagining higher education. Really, I am extremely thankful and grateful to the Imperial College of Family who gave me this opportunity to be here. Thanks a lot. Now I'm just starting the students, every year so many PhD scholars are coming, no doubt. But still, lot of students are remain unemployment. Could anybody, the students can say how this happens? Why there is a mismatch? Lot of students coming, having PhD research scholar, but still they are unemployed. Why so? Anybody can say? Is the situation, is the scenario is this? Yes or no? Do you agree with me? Okay, let's start, no problem. So if I talk about the main, no doubt during this pandemic period, Government of India has given such a highly aspiring new policy. Education 2020, no doubt it is very, very highly aspiring and they have lofty goals. And also it envisions that education system that should be create India to be a very, very equitable and knowledge power society. That's the most important thing. But the vision of this policy is that at the same time, for instilling values among the learners, that is the values which are rooted in Indian situation, number one. Number two, at the same time, we make a holistic development of the individual, what Mahatma Gandhi says, by education, I mean all-round drawing up the best in body, mind, and spirit. At the same time, what Vivekananda says that education is the manifestation of the perfection already existing in man. At the same time, we are really talk about very sustainable development goal of SDG 4. So this new policy education wants to make India a superpower and mostly depend on we have to make a global citizen at all round development. At the same time, we should compete to the world. We have to survive in this competitive world. We have to make a global citizen, number one. Number two, for this holistic individual, when you talk about, you have to, the learner, we have to instill in our learners a set of skills and set of values. That is the most important. At the same time, you say the quality of, we are talking about higher education, no doubt. Now the enrollment in higher education is 26.3 and the policy aspires to be make it 50%. That is no doubt, is very, very huge and challenging task, no doubt. But if a proper roadmap to be developed and a important task force to be developed that can make this policy a reality. But for that, we all have to join hands. And there should be no doubt exactly we say there should be a completely paradigm shift in our educational system. Because now, if you think about it, is completely based on rote memory. Because we see the students coming from gold medalist also in PhD scholar, but they don't have exactly the what they need to be. They lack this. Not only in education sector, but also if you say in an engineering and other different branches. So this policy talks about some of the salient features, what should be our higher education if you talk about in the 2040. 2040 or 2030, what should be the scenario in the higher education? So I think the students of this generation, they have to be make themselves so empowered and so equipped so that they can struggle for existence in the current in the upcoming scenario. That's the most important thing, and we should all be prepared for that. Because why there is a failure, we have to think about number one, what are our strategy to go towards to reach the goal, and that should be very important point, the implementation and the task forces we have to think about. So next, if I think, what are the problems of higher education? No doubt, though there is a multidisciplinary departments or university, IIT, IIM there, but still the colleges or university have a single discipline. For considering that, that means there is a fragmented knowledge. So most less emphasis on the cognitive skills and competency based. Everywhere now they're talking about competency based approach. Talk about in the school education, NCRT, and also in higher education, everybody talks about competency based. Because unless you are competent enough, if a theoretical knowledge doesn't have any meaning to get job, or you have to be employed by them, because the corporate sector, if you are educated one, still the corporate sector doesn't want to take, because they feel there is a lack of skills. So there is the lot of, the situation is unemployment, no doubt. This unemployment is a very, very serious situation, and that has its repercussions both in social and economic scenario of the country. Number two, there is a rigid separation of discipline, specialization in one, somebody doesn't know on the other side what is happening. So that means there should be an interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary approach should be there. That is the main focus of this higher education. Number one. Number two, that access to also the socio-economically disadvantaged areas. That is the most important. And also talk about the local language should be used, because every time whenever somebody thinks in his one's mother tongue or local language. So sometimes students may be very, very intelligent, but due to lack of language, they cannot be able to communicate their things. That is also one of the language barrier is no doubt is a big problem for that. So that way they talk about the local languages can be inadequate. Mechanisms should be best for career management and progression of faculty and institutions. Most important thing, any plan, any policy to work out, leadership is most important. Without leadership and strategic plan, you cannot go. Then lesser emphasis on the university colleges. For example, now everywhere there is colleges. They providing degrees, but that is the commercialization of education. Whatever if we talk about engineering colleges, general colleges, there is so many colleges, but so that they have talked about how these colleges, single colleges, they have to be in course of time, they have to be merged, they have to be closed in a phased manner, and there should be multidisciplinary university should be there. That is the main highlights of this new education, that is higher education. Just I'm skipping. So they talk about so many things in this policy, that institutional restructuring of consolidation towards a more holistic, we talk about holistic development and multidisciplinary, optimal learning environment. We'll talk about what is that optimal learning environment, how can you support your students, maybe in a medical, maybe in engineering, maybe in academic, how can you add that? Then internalization, that means your local, in how we can develop ourselves internally, our own traditions, ethos, values, our own arts, our local things, that should be how to be empowered. Then the equity and inclusion higher education, talk about children with disability. So higher education, that should be equity. If we talk about equity and equality, they're two different things. हम कहते हैं समता और समानता. Whenever you provide equity, it definitely it will develop your quality of education. But equality does not mean the quality is better. But when you provide equity, automatically it will provide quality, better quality education. Then, the main important point is reimagining vocational education. They have talked about vocational education from class 6 onwards. There should be integral component in every class. There should be a 10 days internship program for each of the class. That means that though there is now vocational education, but that has not been properly streamlined. Because of that, vocational education to be seen as a very, you can say, lower category. Those who don't have an academic, they go for the vocational, but this is not the fact. So in order to make you skill-based Indian society, or to have to make vocationalization education, we talk about Gandhi's Naitali, the self-sufficiency. That means now we can Atmanirbhar Bharat, we can go back to Gandhi's philosophy, no doubt of it. But Gandhiji's have a very narrow segment of Charkha, but now it has been in a very different way. So that self-sufficiency of education has to be addressed very clearly. Then catalyzing academic quality, the main thing in Indian education system, lack of research. Research, not a meaningful research and relevant research. Due to lack of research, you cannot able to prosper in higher education. So research have a very important key role for uplifting higher education, for improving higher education. We'll talk about how it. Then my main focus is now I'm coming to how you major highlight just talk about then how academic and industry can come together. That is the most important. I think my topic of discussion. We're talking about no rigid separation. Okay. Then number 2, the internship will be provided. We talked about. And then it is a holistic approach. Both one can say at the same time arts, humanity, can science, can dance, can drama. So many things. For example, National Open School also provide lots of flexibility, but now in every way that should be, that flexibility should be there. One can take any course, any option in number of permutation and combination of courses one can take. One other thing, academic, when there is a multiple entry and multiple exit to the system, so academic bank of credit should be established who can store the students' credit. So anytime if I have 1 year course, for example, in bachelor course, they are talking about bachelor will 3 year, 1 year certificate, second year somebody completed, that is the diploma, third year somebody completed, that is degree. But fourth year they say there should be an integration of research. So in every year they give importance to research is the most important role in this new policy of education. They are focusing on research. Then vocational skills to be taught. Then 230, by 2030, this policy envisions that one large multidisciplinary college in every district, so that there should be an equal access to all the learners, considering that which have a 3,000, they talk about students maybe, so that we can access the target which are fixed by that gross enrollment ratio that can be, we can reach by 2030 by 50%. Then music, art, and literature to be taught in the different colleges, in all the colleges. Then one very important thing they talk about, that MPhil should be discontinued. So many people have so many opposition proposed that how this MPhil is a, if you talk about during the MA and PhD, that MPhil is the midway. So they talk about that should be discontinued. After MA, somebody can directly, after BA also graduation, somebody can directly do research. Then Sanskrit has to be mainstream. Multiple entry exit to talk about. Then practical assignment and skill development. That is the most important part, skill development. Then digital learning. I know now during this pandemic period, we all learning to the, shifting to the online learning. Here in higher education, they talk about 3 modes of learning can be. That is your traditional, on also open distance learning, ODL, at the online learning, And finally, they talked about blended learning is the most preferred one. Both synchronization and unsynchronization, blended learning is the most preferred one. Talk about, so because you have to access to all the learners, so much of avenues you have to think about. Then they talk about the foreign India to be promoted as a foreign study destination. That means every institution have an international students office, एंड उस ऑफिस में बाकी लोग जो बाहर से स्टूडेंट्स आएंगे उनकी सारी चीज देख पाने के लिए एवरी यूनिवर्सिटी में एक इंटरनेशनल स्टूडेंट ऑफिस किया जाएगा. दे टॉक अबाउट then the policy talk about foreign colleges can set up their campuses here, so the students who doesn't get an opportunity to go abroad can have that feeling and exposure being in their own country. Then the expenditure in education, this is a very critical issue. Every time any policy talk about that, there should be growth in GDP expenditure in education, but till date that has not been materialized. But we should be very, very optimistic in our approach. Let us see what is going to happen. Now, vocational education, I think talk about, but vocational education that should be incorporated from primary, you can talk about from elementary, if it is 6, then on secondary and higher secondary, every stage of education, every level of education, vocational education is very well should be integrated so that we can think about a skill-based education. And at the same time, you have to respect the dignity of labor. Now I'm coming to my main topic, that is the academia and industry. You know, there is government, there is industry, there is the academy. How should bridge the gap between the two? Because when the students go into the job market, the corporate sector, they say they don't have that skills, so we don't want to take. So there is the unemployment. This unemployment is a serious, but how do we every day, every time industry blame the academia, academia blame the industry and say the government. So always you play the blame game. But here, the exactly shifting the responsibility to other soldiers is not the solution. So important focus here, where we are going wrong and what to be done, that is our approach. हमारी मेन अप्रोच होना चाहिए कहाँ पे हम गलत कर रहे हैं, तभी हमारी इतनी अनएम्प्लॉयड क्यों है. कितनी आप सब जानते हैं कितने इंजीनियरिंग स्टूडेंट्स जो कि 52% ओनली गेट्स द जॉब, 40% ओनली इंटर्नशिप कर पाते हैं, बाकी सारे दे आर अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट. सो इतनी पैसा जब हम खर्च करते हैं इंजीनियरिंग स्टूडेंट्स को कोर्स कराने के लिए, आफ्टर दैट they are jobless. You cannot imagine in Delhi, I find so much Ola driver, they are also engineers. वो बताते हैं मैडम हमने इंजीनियरिंग किया लेकिन कोई जॉब नहीं. So how this deplorable situation before us? So we have to think about very seriously so that we can address these challenges. Considering the evolving nature of industry in the labor market, we have to think about that how the best academic curriculum can address the requirement of the dynamic industry. Industry क्या चाहता है, हमारे लोगों के मार्केट में क्या डिमांड है, इंडस्ट्री में इंडस्ट्री की जरूरत क्या है. सो बोथ इंडस्ट्री एंड एकेडमिक specialists should come together. There should be a collaborative partnership. Both industry experts and the academic experts, they should sit together. They should plan that curriculum. Then only you can think about, yes, there should be complete synergy and synchronization so that we can address the issues. And that curriculum should be revised regularly, and at the same time should be, just a minute, so at the same time, so there should be complete regular revision of this, both the curriculum and the pedagogy, and that government should play a very, very key role in regulating all these things. There should be interface between the academic and industry. Government should do complete monitoring and regulating these things. Now, so industry ready curriculum that we talk about. What the industry need, the curriculum should be tailored according to that. Emphasis on skill based. Core skill required by the industry will change the fast and newer skills. Creative thinking, जब बार हम न्यू पॉलिसी में बात कर रहे हैं, creative thinking, high level problem solving and interpersonal skills most important है. इनोवेशन, डिसीजन मेकिंग. कई बार क्या होता है, स्टूडेंट्स बहुत छोटी छोटी चीजों में ग्रुप में हम कहते हैं लीडर ग्रुप बन के काम करिए, वो बोलते हैं मैडम मेरा उनके साथ नहीं बनता है. दैट मीन्स वी लैक इन इंटरपर्सनल स्किल. नंबर वन, we don't have a decision making skills. So considering this, these are the very and something very soft skills which are talking about, our communication skills, leadership capability, our attitude, communication. They are softer and behavioral interpersonal skill that has to be polished. Considering this, both our decision making, leadership, behavioral skill, that all skill have to be polished so that we can fight in the world of work. Then I'm talking about workplace exposure through internship. There should be always on-site training, because our students during their period of course, any course, if I say not only engineering, in case we talk about teaching, most probably teaching also for 2 months, 3 months, just 45 days with a on-site training. I find this is not sufficient for the students. So there should be at least 6 months, 8 months on-site training, so that they can, which can you say internship for any discipline, so that they can exposure to the real work life and corporate interaction and live projects they can do. So well timed and well deliberate exposure to the industry के साथ उनको मैच करने की बहुत जरूरत है, बिकॉज इंडस्ट्री के साथ जाने के बाद उनको पता चलेगा प्रैक्टिकल इंसाइट, क्या प्रॉब्लम आता है उसके साथ सोफिस्टिकेटेड मशीन के साथ काम करने के बाद, एंड व्हाट आर द नीड, क्या जरूरत है. क्यों ना यूनिवर्सिटी के पास नो हाउ है और इंडस्ट्री के पास शायद टेक्नोलॉजी है. समटाइम्स बेटर टेक्नोलॉजी कैन बी इनोवेटेड थ्रू रिसर्च. क्या अच्छा करें स्पीड में और बहुत अच्छे हाई टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ हम कर पाएंगे. सो रिसर्च ही बता सकता है. तो रिसर्च इज द वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कंपोनेंट इन दिस. देन e-learning, most important. Now I'm just sorry, just 1 minute. It would be very admirable to see the government coming forward and working exclusively with the academics and employers to create and develop a shared model. The university industry model should be there, so that there should be mutual interaction, mutual collaboration and partnership. They can learn from each other. That is the most important thing. Then that successful model have no doubt benefits to everyone. इंडस्ट्री को, हमारी स्टूडेंट्स को, प्लस यूनिवर्सिटी को, तीनों हम उसमें मदद कर पाएंगे. एंड देन जो इंटर्नशिप बच्चे करने गए, उन स्टूडेंट्स को जब एम्प्लॉयर देखे, ओके दे कैन हैव इन द later period of time also, and students also can equip oneself by working with that particular settings. That is the most important. Sometimes हमें वर्क प्लेस एक्सपोजर नहीं मिलने से हमें पता नहीं चलता है क्या कॉम्प्लिकेशंस आगे आ सकता है. दैट इज द मोस्ट इंपोर्टेंट. अंडरस्टैंड द यूजर नीड्स. मार्केट की जरूरत क्या है, इंडस्ट्री की क्या जरूरत है, स्टूडेंट्स को क्या चाहिए, तो उस चीजों में हमें ध्यान रखना पड़ेगा. यूनिवर्सिटी शुड ऑलवेज ब्रॉड एनफ टू पेव द वे फॉर इनोवेशंस, टू हेल्प फ्रेम द चैलेंजेस. इंस्टीट्यूशन हमारे पास 3 सिंपल क्वेश्चंस पूछे. इंस्टीट्यूशन, हमारे यूजर कौन है, उनको क्या बेनिफिट देगा, तो हाउ वी कैन एबल टू हेल्प देम, हमारी एफर्ट्स क्या होगा टू इनोवेट न्यू पैकेजेस, व्हाट आर द चैलेंजेस द फ्यूचर इनोवेशंस कैन डू, क्या थ्रेड है इनोवेशंस करने के बाद, So we will talk about this. There are several innovative practices adopted by the higher education institution across India and the globe that should transfer the हमारा जो purely lecture delivery methodology को नहीं करके हम case study success story को students के सामने लाए that so they can learn from that practice session से सीख सकते हैं. Then problem-based learning. Problem-based learning is called about suggests that provides an absolute opportunity that every time. Just a minute, sorry. हाँ, ये हमने बात कर दिया. Reimagining industry or academic partnership, that is the most important thing. And research important. Every time they talk about a national research fund. That national research fund have to be in every, there should be establishment of national research fund, and there should be board of members and experts who are the members of that board, and that should be on the rotational method, and they should talk about that will be completely free from bureaucracy. So meritorious students, startup incubation centers can be provided, the research fund can be provided to the meritorious student, those who really want to do some startup projects to see whether how they work properly or not. So that balance of future education, with future of work. फ्यूचर वर्क लाइफ हम बात करते हैं, बच्चों को अभी बहुत जल्दी सी कोडिंग सिखाया जाता है. Artificial intelligence, automation, it is inevitable for the industry to rely on academic to access and train the kind of talent that is required and thrive the future workplace पे किस तरीका से talent चाहिए. Lifelong learning हो गया. No, every institution now to be a learning organization. What is that learning organization? Every school, every college, every institute should learn new things, should be equipped. For example, हम सारे टीचर अभी पेंडेमिक के टाइम हर चीजें जानने की जरूरी पड़ा, क्या कैसे करना है, how to take the class online, PPT बना के कैसे क्लास लेना है, यूट्यूब को लिंक ऑफ द टाइम, you have to change yourself, you have to integrate. Then an experiential university model to integrate the work experience deeply in the curriculum. जो हमारी real work experiences उसको curriculum में हम integrate करें, then only we can get the chance take about that what our future work requires. So you have to make a balance on that. Employability in higher education framework highlights the process, the principles, the premises underpinning the employability and the elements which contribute to the support. क्या क्या हमारी प्रोसेस है, किस प्रोसेस में हम काम करने के आगे जा पाएंगे, इस चीजों को ध्यान में रखना पड़ेगा. Time from the very beginning we have to nurture that employability characteristics. So empowering our staff, our students, everybody, that is most important fact, and collaboration with the stakeholders. Do anything. So, maybe a school, maybe a college, maybe any institute. So stakeholders are the key agent. They have to. Productivity enhancement and technological progress. जो हमारी Prime Minister every time talk about local to global. We have to retain our local craft, and we can think about also at the same time global. That is the most important. Revitalizing focus on MSP, that is mini or micro, small and medium entrepreneurship. अभी दिल्ली गवर्नमेंट ने भी स्कूल में एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप का शुरू किया. School students from class 9, 10, they can become an entrepreneur. Not necessary. You have to how to create job, not to become employed under somebody. That is the most important thing. So institutions, major agents of change in the larger economy in the society, brought about thorough knowledge generation and transfer. Academic institutions have focused mainly on training their students in the skills that are required for larger companies. लेकिन हम बड़े बड़े कंपनीज में क्या स्किल चाहिए उसको तो बताते हैं, लेकिन छोटे छोटे स्मॉल मीडियम और माइक्रो एंटरप्रेन्योर के लिए भी क्या स्किल चाहिए, वी हैव टू इक्विप द स्टूडेंट्स अकॉर्डिंगली सो दैट दे कैन बी सेल्फ रिलायंट, they can independent, they can run their own work. So Atmanirbhar Bharat, that is the focus on this. So one of the key focus of this self-sufficiency, that is most important. So job market में नौकरी नहीं कहे के students they not unemployed, they can do their own work. Then the NSK academia, that जो small scale industry के साथ शुरू से कॉलेज यूनिवर्सिटी लाइसेंस करके काम करे, then the students can be equipped and empowered to run their own work and the later life when they graduate from the university. Both institution industry. Industry academy I talked about, I don't want to balance this, we talk about. Then most important thing, leverage alumni network. मोस्टली क्या होता है, कभी भी एलुमनी नेटवर्क होता है तो एनुअल फंक्शन में बुला देते हैं, कभी गैदरिंग में उनको एक दो बार बुलाया, उनको कोई प्राइज सेरेमनी बुलाया, देयर हैव बी वेरी पैसिव गेट टुगेदर. बट एलुमनी नो डाउट they can give back to the society, so there should be a very good liaising between the present fresher students and alumni, so they can learn, alumni can express share their experiences, and they have share their experiences at the same time, share their experiences, and they can guide the freshers to move forward in the proper direction. So in that way the university, the institution should capitalize on volunteering that how do they capitalize that, how the students, we also in teacher training institute now we are talking about alumni meet, but constantly there should be complete listening so that it will no doubt that leverage alumni network really help us because they have the real field experiences. So our students can gain their experiences and they can update themselves and they can also seniors. So alumni higher education can act as a mentor. They can work as a mentor and they can university advance. They also help the university in the research and development capability. They can share the knowledge on in the field, in the market, in the real world to the students and the faculty of the institute. So leverage of alumni network is no doubt is a most important. So far academic and industry is concerned, we have to think about very carefully. Everything you talk about leadership is the most important thing. So outstanding and effective institutional leadership is a must. At the same time, that should be, they mention very emphatically that institutional development plan. Every institute, micro, mini, school, college, university, research institute, whatever, that should be an institutional development plan. So that because institutional development plan that provides you the direction and the roadmap to go. Unless and until you have a roadmap, you cannot get the proper direction. So excellent faculty with high academic and service credentials should be demonstrated the leadership management. That leadership will come from different branches. If I talk about then in industry, talk about from the government sector, talk about from the academics, from medicine. So that should be a combination of so many as a research team, leaders team, they can work together. Then a national mission for mentoring should be there. If sometimes you talk about resource persons pool, so sometimes the national mission for mentoring of the high professional who are the institutional leaders who can guide in different way to the university. एस्टेब्लिशमेंट ऑफ एनआरएफ की बात हमने किया है, दैट इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट फिट अनलेस हमारी, बिकॉज जितनी भी आज फेल्योर है हमारे साथ ड्यू टू लैक ऑफ रिसर्च इन एवरी फील्ड, एंड दैट शुड बी ऑथेंटिसिटी इन रिसर्च, नॉट फॉर द सेक ऑफ रिसर्च यू आर कंप्लीटिंग द. So research should be in the real sense of the term, which really provides some fruitful results so that we can modify our curriculum and we can move forward accordingly what our country needs, what our customer needs, whatever. How can we challenge our environment, our economy, everything. So research is a very important ingredient in this new policy, and that should be governed by also best researcher across the field so that we can get a variety to that. Transforming regulatory system of higher education, that different regulation. अब फॉर एग्जांपल हम बात करें, बहुत सारे कॉलेजेस है, उस कॉलेज को किस तरीके से एक्रेडिटेशन देना है, किस तरीके से उनका ऑटोनॉमी देना है, all these things have to be very clearly mentioned, but everything needs implementation of task forces, how the different committees, steering committee will be formed and how they talk about in the different states and the center. That is the important point. नाउ जो हमने बात किया था इंजीनियरिंग करिकुलम को भी रिव्यू करा जाए, जैसे कि हॉस्पिटल के साथ मेडिकल कॉलेजेस अटैच होता है, मेडिकल कॉलेज के साथ हॉस्पिटल अटैच किया जाता है, इसी तरीके से मोस्टली होता है आईआईटीज वगैरह में अटैच होते हैं इंडस्ट्री, बट ऑल डिफरेंट इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज शुड हैव अटैच ऑन साइट ट्रेनिंग के लिए इंडस्ट्री के साथ फ्रॉम द वेरी बिगिनिंग कोलैबोरेशन हो, तो दैट विल बी वेरी गुड थिंग. There are different pathways. मैं कहूंगी सारी चीज को करने के लिए 3 important thing: creating a forward looking leadership, that is the most important, any policy to function and work, then building a growth mindset. हम माइंड में चले, ग्रोथ माइंडसेट इज मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट. उसके लिए कंड्यूसिव एनवायरमेंट, हमारा एक विल पावर एंड मोटिवेशन, एंड द सेम टाइम एंड एबिलिटी एंड ऑप्टिमिस्टिक आउटलुक इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट. एंड फेल्योर से हम सीखते हैं, इसीलिए कभी भी फेल्योर हो उसके लिए हमें फेल्योर शुड बी आल्सो रिवार्डेड, बिकॉज फ्रॉम द फेल्योर मेक्स यू लर्न बेटर. देन रीडिजाइनिंग द लर्निंग मॉडल, जो हमारी अभी की जो लर्निंग मॉडल है मोस्टली हम रोड मेमोरी और एग्जाम ओरिएंटेड और क्रेडिट हम ले जाते हैं, दैट शुड बी completely paradigm shift so that we can talk about redesigning the learning model to provide lifelong learning. Every time critical skill, lifelong learning, clear decision making and problem solving. So that is the main important thing. So that educators will have to achieve this not in a vacuum. They have to be collective intelligence of 6 stakeholders: government, industry, faculty, students and parents and alumni. There should be collaboration among all the stakeholders so that we can able to make our dream of NEP 2020 higher education the real sense of it, not a dream but a reality. Thank you. Anything, any student? Thank you, madam. पाटिल सर नमस्कार.
नमस्ते. नमस्ते.
नमस्कार सर. माय ग्रेट प्रिविलेज यहाँ पे होते हुए आप सबसे मैं अपनी बात को कह पाई. एंड थैंक यू टू प्रदीप जी जो मेरे बैचमेट हैं जिन्होंने इस चीजों को करने का मौका दिया, दीपक जी, आशीष जी जिनको मैं जानती. सर आपकी एनी थिंग सर, एनी स्टूडेंट एनीथिंग वांट टू आस्क?